For many leading economists, Nigeria's path to true development depends on one critical sector, the energy sector. Despite being Africa's largest oil producer and boasting vast reserves of natural gas, the country continues to grapple with deep-rooted challenges in oil, gas, and electricity supply. Now, these persistent inadequacies have become a major bottleneck, holding back industrial growth, discouraging investment, and dimming the promise of a nation brimming with potential. Experts argue that until Nigeria fixes its energy puzzle, the dream of matching its economic ambitions with real-world progress will remain just that, a dream. Today, we explore the issues affecting the sector with our guest, Professor of Energy and Electricity Law, Yemi Oke. You're welcome to our program.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the time. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, we're going to talk about what appears to be something you are vast in, the energy sector or electricity sector in the country. And it's, one will say, something that makes a lot of people get really emotional.
Yeah.
You have blackouts, you have high fuel costs, you have endless confrontation with energy providers and little energy sometimes to speak for it. If I was to now take it from you, because you've been in this sector outside the legal perspective, you've also taken your roles in the policy part. What would you say is the biggest structural flaw in the Nigerian energy sector that is leading us to still be talking about this thing for so long?
Yes, when you talk of energy, we talk of Trinity. The corpus called energy is petroleum, gas, and power. So I'm going to talk about the policy misdirection in each and every one of them.
Okay.
Talking about the petroleum sector, we got it fundamentally wrong with the structure we were operating years back under the old NNPC. The old NNPC was a regulator.
Mm-hmm.
The old NNPC simultaneously was industry player. When you have the regulator also stake playing in the industry, you're not going to have a sector that is efficient, you're not going to have a sector that is well regulated. On the one hand, you are trading in crude and retail. Mm-hmm. You are also to regulate with players in line as a regulator. So NNPC then, old NNPC, was inherently conflicted. That was why we never had NNPC that was efficient, that was prudent, that was kind of discharging the duties for which they were initially put in place. In 2023, Saudi Aramco contributed about $200 billion in gains to the purse of the government. Those were the kind of intervention we expected NNPC to be doing. It should be playing at the level of Saudi Aramco, Petrobras, and the rest. The same thing, Petrobras, about the same time, made about $50 billion in profit. And 5% of the profit could fund Nigerian universities if NNPC was run and managed the way it ought to be.
Along that same line.
It took us several years before we were able to redirect our path. And a lot of politics got infused into needful policy direction. Politics and politics sometimes do interfere. Mm-hmm. But when we started the petroleum industry bill, mm-hmm. it shouldn't have taken us more than a decade. We are losing vital human resources. We are losing extensive capital, massive, that we ought to have amassed as a nation to take care of the health, to take care of the education sector, to take care of infrastructure, to build new transmission lines, to do a lot of things. The purse was frozen. We are playing needless politics with the future of the country. It took the spirited effort of a government to say, no, enough is enough. Let's sign the petroleum industry bill into an act in its imperfect state. That was why we now had to discontinue with the old NNPC. We now have a restructured arrangement. NNPC now is playing as a stakeholder, and we have other entities regulating.
So the sector is better now?
The sector is on the path now.
It should have been.
The second thing there that affected the sector was we are doing a lot, taking from the little resources we are generating from the sale of crude oil, putting it back by way of subsidy. Those are the kind of challenges we had as a country that got us messed up. That is for petroleum. For gas, gas was never regulated. There was never a piece of legislation called Gas Law, Gas Act in Nigeria. The old Petroleum Act did not really regulate hydrocarbon gas. It's only the petroleum industry that now devote a bit of sections to regulate gas as a separate, distinct entity. We are now moving from the realm of flaring of gas to regulated flaring, of course, for fortune, making money from the gas into or diverting it to other areas that will help the country. We are not also able to appropriately price gas. So it wasn't a viable venture for people to go and invest their hard-earned resources because who's going to buy it? The petroleum sector and gas was heavily subsidized. It was not going to be sustainable. So we weren't able to do what we call appropriate gas pricing. Even when under the policy regime, we had domestic gas obligation. The gas players, of course, we look at ourselves, eyeball to eyeball, and say, this is not going to be realistic. Government say, hey, being patriotic, be a good Nigerian, produce gas at a loss and give to Nigerians almost for free. Gas was an international commodity. If you produce gas today, it is bought and sold in the international market. You have the NLNG, you have the LPG, you have the condensed kind of, all the various kinds of gas that we now do. Compressed natural gas is what we're now deploying now, CNG, even for gas.
Yes.
So we're now moving from so-called petrol to now increasing our stakes in the gas sector. Now having players now coming to set up gas
to
plants,
focus on gas.
To focus on gas, to invest, and because gas is now essentially the feedstock for the power. So in gas too, we're now trying to get it right.
Before I leave you to go, you want to enter electricity?
Yes.
Before I get you to electricity, I would like us to talk about the petroleum sector a little bit more.
Okay.
Because in the last few days, the background you gave focused on NNPC and its transformation from being a many-role player to now try to be a regulator to a large extent. But our landscape has changed in that regard. We now have somebody playing the Dangote refinery that has come into the market. And the last few days, there's also been this contention over the attempt, it appears, for him to go into the downstream, the supply chain. I would like to take your own, you can give us like a bird's eye view and tell us what you see that we may not be seeing.
Well, one, Dangote refinery is one of the major positive, laudable development that happened in the course of transiting from the old regressive era to the progressive era. I will give it to the regimes that made that happen. Dangote refinery is one of the reasons that made it obvious for government to get done away with the corrupt, clandestine regime of petroleum subsidy that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed almost immediately. The framework had been there to discontinue, yes, but he demonstrated the boldness to say, no, we can't continue. We can't go back to this Egypt. That's commendable. Without that step, there would have been a humongous subsidy that will have undermined profitability or sustainability of the Dangote refinery. And that would have made it impossible for others to come on board, because if the existing players are not doing well, they're not going to encourage me to join the fray and go and crash myself. They're going to try and gather necessary business intelligence from existing players. Hey, our market, hope you are doing well. So they will know if they are doing well. So if they are doing well, an average Nigerian wants to go into a business that is profitable, that is doing well. If the existing players are not doing well, they're going to not go in there. Okay. So Dangote refinery is a positive development, but we need to be very careful. We need to free up the space for other players to come on board. We need to encourage NNPC now, not NMDPRA, the regulators, and not the commission and the authority that are co-regulators. NNPCL is a player, just like language and others. We need to also encourage NNPC to play or be encouraged to compete favorably with the Dangotes. The better for Nigerians, because NNPC is going to make money for Nigerians. Dangote is going to make profit for shareholders, as well as pay appropriate tax to the Nigerian government. Whichever way, give or take, Nigerians will be better for it. But we need to be careful about the attempt to unionize Dangote's workforce. Okay. I'm a unionist myself. As a university lecturer. I belong to HASU. I know that could slow down things. That could create needless, unintended bureaucracies. And if you allow that to happen to Dangote refineries, Dangote will let me use the word, might crash and feel the pains, the bitter pills of unionism in its establishment. But Nigerians will feel it the more. Job losses, reduce earnings, reduce revenue, and tax to the government. And it wouldn't be that sustainable for others to come on board. So government should do everything to avoid unionization at the level of private entities.
Except the people there want to set up their own union.
If they want to set up, they would want to set up their own. They will go with TUC, right, and the Pegasan, whatever. But it's still going to be a kind of union that is affiliated, not to NSC but to TUC, and then it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be encouraged. I know what I'm saying about unionism. Because once they take a decision about work to rule, all those kind of things, it doesn't allow for any exception. It affects everybody, and it's not too good for the industry. What I can suggest, I may want to suggest, is certain levels of the structure may be into a kind of flexible union arrangement that will enable them to get exemption from going to work to rule, meaning strike. Otherwise, if you distort the retail, meaning you don't get product delivered in your filling station, it's not Dangote that is going to suffer.
It's us.
It's Nigerians.
Now, but are you saying it appears, because for some people it appears the conflict or the fight right now is with other players in the field, the petroleum distribution chain, that appears to be the conflict from the outside?
You know, Nigerians, being who we are, we I think we struggle with doing things right. I don't know whether it's a cultural thing or a Nigerian thing. We struggle to do things right, doing the right thing. I'm an advocate of doing the right thing. I mean, you know the right thing. Why not do it? If there are issues in the sector in terms of the union or the labor force, workforce, they have the personnel department, they have all the assessors, they have the contract of employment that they signed. They should be able to invoke appropriate clauses of their contract of employment and sort it out. If you want to retain a percentage of your labor force as casualization is done all over the world. Meaning they're going to be like laborers, pay off, pay as who hen. Hen as who work, kind of, so that they don't get any pension or gratuity, and the hourly rate is higher as against those who are staff, tenured staff that will have pension and all this gratuity. It is extreme. If you want to quickly work with Dangote, cash out after 3-4 years, go there, work long hours, cash out. If you want to be part of the Dangote family, work there for 20 years, retire and get your pension. These are flexible options. You can't fuse everything. All over the world, that's the structure. The arrangement Dangote is trying to put in place is such that will make the product readily available.
And not be left to the issue of whether with
caprices of you have needs in your filling station. You are waiting for one petroleum tanker, people, whatever, to bring the product to your doorstep. Whereas there is a structure that you buy from me, I will take it to your. Okay, you want me to deliver? It's like you go online, you order your product, you can go and pick it.
Yes.
You can have it delivered to you. That is what is happening all over the world now. Okay. And that's where we should go. That's what Dangote is trying to do. The issue of, I don't have product, long queues, will just be a thing of the past. And it's a question of demand and supply. It's going to bring the prices down. The prices of petroleum product will keep going south with the initiatives of the Dangote.
Yeah, but you know the fears people have is the issue of monopoly. Where somebody has the refinery and has the means to distribute. What it means indirectly, if it's for any reason he decides this is not, and you are now dependent on that person.
No.
Okay.
What I said in the course of our interaction, I said the government should encourage NNPC head to play favorably. And if they need to raise their shoulders slightly, they should diplomatically do that. Of course, if Dangote is doing so much, why must government do so little? It's business. If NNPC is so empowered, they can compete. Saudi Aramco is federal government owned. No private entity can compete with it.
So they have a responsibility.
Is a private entity.
So they have a responsibility to step up.
Government should encourage them to step. Government should step NNPC up, and NNPC should go up and stop. We still have some funny things happening in there. It's not for me to disclose in your studios, but they cannot compete for as long as you have the biz mentality, those bureaucratic civil service kind of mentality. You pass a memo even to fuel the car that is going to go and do an emergency.
So
thing,
you think they've not made the transition from being a government
bureaucracy
or government office to being a private, because the whole intention was to transform them.
Yes, they removed people from the old bureaucracies and distributed them, some to NNPCS, some to NDPRA, some to they distributed them. They still have their old overhangs going with them, and it will take a while for them to get off those stuff, but then it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Okay. So let me allow you now land to electricity, because I stopped you before you went in, which is where I know a lot of people want to hear about. In your view, looking at where we are now, are we making any headway to address what appears to be deep looming darkness?
Yeah, let me say this. So just as we've been able to transit from the petroleum sector to gas, and we're doing well. I mean, We are not here. We've started. We're tapering up. We're moving on the right path. The pace might be slow, but at least
there's a up.
That is, we are moving gradually, and everybody could see it. This government is also fueling the movement.
Okay.
Everybody could see it. I mean, you may say, well, I don't want to discuss that, but I'm seeing it because we're in the industry. I'm an industry player. I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, but the Nigerians will tell you they are not seeing it. The
okay,
power.
if Dangote wants to bring petroleum,
no, you are talking of. I'm talking of power.
I'm getting there. Okay. I'm just telling you the background. The same thing in the power sector. Okay. When we had, I can't be tired of saying this. The problem we had when we had the Electric Power Sector Reform Act repealed of 2005. I sat down as a researcher. I also wrote a book on it. I told them a lot of things that were wrong in the law, including the fact that the law was unconstitutional, because then the unamended constitution actually provided for power as a concurrent stuff.
Yeah, it was on the concurrent list
for both for the federal and state. Mm-hmm. But under the unamended part of the constitution, state will only be able to deal with areas not covered by a national grid, including setting up the state regulatory bodies, while the federal government would deal with areas covered by the national grid. That was the law then, unamended. But the ESPRA repealed, now centralized the whole thing, contrary to what was in the constitution. And I started having issues with that, and I had allies in your Mokpe, Chamberlain, Sulaimon, who sit down in the studio digesting it, dissect. The videos are still there on YouTube. We did a whole lot of work, sensitizing Nigerians, sensitizing policy players, decision makers that this is not the law. A lot of people knew next to nothing as to the power sector then. So I had to write a book. I was dishing out ideas. It took almost 15 years to 20 years of consistent advocacies for us to change the narratives before we eventually got it done in 2023. We thank God for all of us that work together to help Nigerians in that regard. We've started the journey. The old one was, the law that we had was a piece of legislation not meant to operationalize the power sector. No. Okay. It was meant to midwife power sector reforms. That was why the name of the law was Electric Power Sector Reform Act. A lot of its content were just to move from point A to point B, not getting you to destination.
Unfortunately, we stayed there. Done.
Even the privatization, we didn't do well. So the discourse was still saying, this is my franchise area, you can't come to my area, I'm in charge. All those things. And the legacy debt was still there. The discourse was not efficient. The transition company of Nigeria was moving from one challenge to the other, even till now. Gradually, they're getting out of it. A whole lot of things were not done. State could not come and play. Mm-hmm. Investors were not coming. Nobody was ready to invest in Nigeria's power sector. And we were having issues. For like 10, 15 years, it was generating even less than the megawatts we had as a country before privatization. Then government was now spending much more in a supposedly privatized power sector.
And giving loans to people.
And giving loans, giving guarantees, giving backings, more than it was doing before privatization.
So where are we now?
I now said we can't continue on that journey.
Yes.
Eventually, of course, a Tinubu government came and said, okay, as imperfect as it might be, let's have this law. We will amend later. Immediately sign it within days of getting to the office. Why? Because himself was a victim of the issue. As a governor of Lagos State, with the experimental Lagos Enron thing that was muzzled down by federal might, now he had the yam and the knife. He knew what to do. So, oh, the state must be able to. And that is the only way Nigeria can be competitive. So we now have the Electricity Act of 2023, the narrative started to change. What we predicted in your studios 15, 18 years ago, that we're going to have something like Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Ogun State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Enugu State Electricity Regulatory Commission. The names we gave, we speculated, we saw the future. Is exactly what we are now having now. The states are now getting off and getting self-regulated. The challenges we had with the banks, we said some banks will collapse, some 3-4 banks collapse. They are still struggling because of needless, especially in the power sector. We are now trying to make the power sector bankable so that they can attract foreign direct investment as against mopping up funds from the local market that crashed the banks, that crashed your money, my money in the banks.
And affected the economy.
Naturally. So we're getting to do the right thing gradually. States are now playing.
Some are concerned with the way we looked for.
Have started doing.
Which is where I want you to come in.
Okay.
Because when that bill was passed, there was a sort of hooray, something that we've waited for has happened. 2 years down the line, it appears we've still not seen much movement. What's your own perspective?
What I want to also speculate in your studios, so that I can know today's date, is that states in Nigeria are going to start to develop at their own pace. It's a situation in which if you don't have electricity in Sokoto, you can't have in Kebbi. If you don't have power in Kebbi, you can't have in Kogi. If you don't have in Kogi, it must not be available in Lagos. It's gone with the restructuring.
Yes.
So, a state that is well managed, a state that is responsibly governed, a state that is transparent, a state that honors its contractual obligation, a state that manages its finances prudently, will naturally become bankable. Bankability is a commercial assurance that makes the investors to come, meaning that once they invest in your state, they're able to do business, recover their investment with profit. If they can't see that in your state, by the way and manner your state is governed, managed, or run, they're not going to come. They're going to go to state B that is ready. If an average investor knows that investing in Sambisa Forest will bring money, he's not going to be bothered so much about the fact that they are kidnapping there. He's going to invest his money there with his security, invest and make money. That's the thinking of an average investor. So if they know they can invest and make money in your state, they will come. As I said, states will need to deploy their respective competitive advantages. If you go up north, they have natural competitive advantage in the area of solar.
Yes.
Because of the topography, because of the level of reliability of sunshine there. States like Benue and the rest are naturally wind turbine. You can do windmills and the rest. Some, I'm sure you know, hydro is renewable. We have many hydro, stimulated hydro with modern technologies. We have water everywhere. So many things can happen. It's expensive, but investors are ready if they can recover their money. If people can pay. So we're going to have kind of mini agri clustered, one community here, industrial area, 2 megawatts here, 3 megawatts, as against centralizing. We go bottom up. That is what we started doing. And it doesn't happen in a year or two.
Okay, there's a timeline that
the state, you first...
Minimum, what time are you looking at? What minimum, what time?
For serious-minded states, maximum 5 years, we'll start seeing improved electricity. It wouldn't take, I'm not sure it's going to take Abia that much. I'm not sure it's going to take Enugu that much. I don't expect it to take Oyo, Lagos that much. I think another state in the north, a couple of states in the north are also doing something. So if you see your neighbors doing something, you're going to. But I expect, one will have expected Kogi to also deploy the closeness to Abuja because of Abuja electricity, because that's the distribution company that supplies it. But the problem is a lot of the discos still, they're having problems, and they are the ones also stimulating investment in those states. But again, those are business issues that will be resolved. Once the regulatory environment, policy environment is right, investment will come because Nigerians are willing and ready.
I'm happy you mentioned the issue of discourse because I was about to go to that direction. You know, when you mention discourse in Nigeria, they are the ones Nigerians hold. They're the ones who send people with polls to come and cut light or do estimated billing and all that. And maybe I should go back a bit because before then, there was the privatization.
Yes.
In your opinion, was that privatization well done?
No. No. Unfortunately, no. I spoke about it several times in your studios in Lagos and elsewhere, and I kept inducting those who midwife the privatization. I didn't mention it, but I was hitting them. Yes, and gladly, towards the tail end of the late Buhari's administration, the late president said, actually, he agreed with the expert that said power sector was privatized as a matter of political patronage. He said so. It was reported in the dailies. He didn't mention me. He didn't mention that, but we need those of us who were like saying this. So he went into it and he saw the carcass of the privatization. How do you explain it? As of today, 85 to 90% of the discos are technically insolvent. How do you explain it? The Gencos are struggling with debt overhang of over 4 trillion. How do you explain it? Transmission company, federal government is still managing that as a federal government monopoly. Can you tell me, as I stated, that TCN is doing well? It's trying. They are still challenged, but they're not doing well yet. Better than before. The Gencos are not doing well in terms of financial capabilities. Because they say, hey, we're going to crash. The money government is owing us. A lot of transmission losses, a lot of funny things that happen in the sector. If you have, some of the discos are under receivership. Including where we are now. I don't want to mention them. Including my state, the one in charge. Mention them.
And we can trace that back.
Ibadan is under receivership. Benin is under receivership. Abuja is under receivership. Jos is none of them. Kaduna, Kano. Yola was even abandoned.
And these were companies that were supposed to bring inflow.
Of course, bring inflows, reject the sector, bring investment, made the industry attractive so that Nigerians will have electricity and buy, and they will increase the megawatt. But they were rejecting loads. They were rejecting loads at some point.
Yeah.
You heard of load rejection?
Yes.
That, I can't take more than 500 megawatts. I will take it to areas like Banana Island where I know I can charge them heavily. While the rural areas, they can't afford it, so we can't take it there because it can't be taken electricity there at a loss. So we need to reject the system. The system is challenged. It's more of regulatory. No, the point is, some see me as a stakeholder in that, but not necessarily, because some of us have this passion to do the right thing. It's not so much of what we want to gain from the country. Definitely that cannot happen. It's about what we want to give to people, our people, Nigerians, fellow Nigerians, because we know what to do, and we definitely will do it, irrespective of whether it's favorable to some people or not. The problem is, once you privatize as a government all over the world, the job of the government is to bring on board efficient, knowledge-based, independent, firm, and tough regulation. So when you have a regulator that brings about effective regulation, the sector will be on autopilot. For instance, if anything is happening in the banking sector, nobody thinks of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The CBN. If anything is happening in telecoms, it's SEC. The same thing. Corruption, EFCC, ICPC. So institutions are what make a government. When you have a regulator as strategic as NERC, and you cannot feel it, feel the vibes, feel the trepidation that, oh, I can't do this here, NERC will get me into trouble. I can't, they will revoke my license. Things must do. Look at their books. They bring figures, humongous figures, and say there are AT&T losses, and then they will collect electricity and hand that remit. And funny things happening, metering thing, estimated billing. The politics of estimated billing is also there. Because if they put meters in there for you, and I said in your studio, the problem I have with then, still now, is it is criminal to consume electricity and not pay.
Yes.
It is illegal to pay for electricity not consumed.
True.
So Nigerians cannot pay for power that is not supplied to them. So if you now give me electricity, give me meter. Let me regulate my consumption. If I can afford 10 hours per day of electricity, I will do 10 hours. I'll switch off. If it's 2 hours I can afford in the night to charge my phone and do whatever, iron my clothes, prepare for the office, I'll do it. So you can regulate your consumption pattern. Estimated billing is the only thing that can make them to make money. So the process of meeting is being slowed down and deliberately.
It looks like an impossible...
And they will bring you one policy, they change another one, bring cap me today, bring map tomorrow, change things. They said no, metering is no longer with the discourse, yes. It is map. You go to map, you have to somebody, you have to connect somebody to. Even when government was buying meters for free for Nigeria, they were still paying. I mean, is that the problem of the government? No. Is that the problem of the sector? Industry players will always want to make money and take undue advantage of a weak regulation and regulator. That's what we are having.
Do you feel that some of these things are because the sectors are sensitive? Because some people will tell you power is a very what not, and so maybe that's why it's being handled not to cause an effect that could lead to...
Let me give you this scenario. We were in Nigeria here when Soludo was deployed as a young person then, as special advisor to the president on economic matters. Was deployed as finance, I think as CBN governor.
Yes.
We had what they call consolidation. When he insisted on consolidation of banks, the banks were making, the first consolidation was 25 billion naira was the mark. It was a lot of money for the banks. They were struggling, so a lot of banks merged. Now, they scale up their capacity. Banks now declared trillion naira profit. Nigerian banks are now playing internationally. Then they thought it was doing them a disservice. Some banks died, some people lost their jobs
and all that.
But Nigerian banks became stronger, and they are now taking over at the regional markets in Africa. That is the job of a focused, forward-looking regulator. It's not about what you wish to get. It's about writing your name in God. Soludo came, I was in law practice in a law firm. They were handling mergers of some banks, and I saw things that is a lot of Nigeria didn't see. A lot of banks were just in the pocket of some owners, some MDs. If they like your face, they can give you 25 million naira loan without collateral. If they like, they can give you 200 million naira loan. And the banks were very weak. And they're ready to collect. And Nigerian money of Nigerians were there, trapped, until Soludo came. First round of consolidation, second round, and then the bank started declining trillion.
So we need something.
We need. It's not. The job once we have a sector, government should be busy with politics and policy. Regulation should be effective governance and industry regulation. You're not going to expect the Minister of Finance to be regulating CBN and be looking at the fintech and what they are doing. There are people, there are Nigerians to man those things. The same thing in the power sector. It's not rocket science. I am telling you, it's not rocket science. How do we sustain the advocacy? And I must always appreciate channels. Because each time I say something, it provokes another reaction. Hey, Dr. Oke, sorry, this issue, people are sick. I will go to the studios. We are all volunteering to make our country better. At the end of the day, we have a new law that decentralizes the power sector, and things are taking shape. We are hitting them. That's the same thing we are doing. We're not trying to make somebody feel comfortable or happy. It's not about making somebody happy. The power sector has not been well regulated, and I'm saying it.
Okay, let me take you on one issue that is personal, because I'm trying to also get in as much questions as I can. You are a lawyer in the electricity sector. Yeah. Somebody approached me at one point and was asking, you have a situation where, unfortunately for a lot of Nigerians, they are forced to buy transformers, poles, and all that. And at a point in time, it now looks like you are told that it is not yours. I want to understand, what is the legal position for Nigerians who are forced out of a need for electricity to purchase these things, and at the end are told it belongs to the provider without any form of benefit coming to them?
When we started, you said some of the problems could be emotional. Because some of us have suffered it directly. These are things we have experienced as Nigerians, and some of us are still experiencing it. Before going into your scenario, let me give you a real life experience, real time. A friend came to me. He said their estate contributed 25 million naira to buy a transformer. After a while, they were in darkness for so long. They contributed the money to buy a transformer. They now approach the disco in their area. I won't mention the name of the disco. The disco now said, you guys have done well. We'll come and, that's good. But they will not be able to do anything or touch it because you guys purchase it. You have to donate it to us. And they gave them a template of the letter they will write. We also community, we voluntarily contributed money to buy this transformer. We gave it voluntarily, willingly, without coercion to this disco. They are the owner. We have no right. All kinds of funny things. I saw the letter. They gave it to the disco. The manager said, yes, that's fine. We can now come and deal with it. They came, they inspected. When are you going to energize this transformer? They said they will get back to them. They followed up. They said they should come and contribute another 10 million naira to energize. And they got upset. They came to me and said, is that what the law says? I smiled. Out of frustration, not out of joy. Because a lot of Nigerians are going through the same thing. Those assets are not individual assets. If you like, invest 500 million naira to procure a transformer. It remains and will always remain asset of the designated disco. They are the only ones who can distribute electricity. They are the only ones who can lay cables. They are the only ones who can extend poles. But Nigerians have been the one buying transformers, buying electricity poles, buying cables, buying transformer oil, buying things, doing things, buying meters, even when meters were purchased by federal government and World Bank loan to distribute to Nigerians free. How many people get it free? If you want to get it free, maybe you need to wait some 15 years more. What you are waiting to get free, Nigerians will put money in an envelope for them to have it, and they will write it in the record it was given to you for free. A lot of Nigerians will gladly accept.
And there's no protection in the law.
Let me give you this money. Give me this meter. Write that it was free. Just the way the community bought the transformer and say they donated it to this. Those are Nigerian things. The law is there. Discos are the ones responsible for transformers, for poles, cables, and the rest. non-Nigerians. But one of my problems with the power sector thing is that meters are supposed to be asset of the discos. Nigerians pay for it.
Yes.
The details for transformer cables and the rest, and they own it. Government is giving them indirect subsidy. Get through MBET. MBET is owing so much because they are the ones that write off or authorize or as the middlemen for gas. Gas is what the Gencos use. Gencos will generally give it to the discos. Discos will under remit. Government was subsidizing gas. That's the reason why government is owing 4 trillion plus, and for other reasons. We have inbuilt subsidy in the power sector. These discos are the ones benefiting. These discos are the ones getting soft loans. These discos are the ones getting their equipment bought for them by Nigerians. Communities will buy transformer, communities will buy poles. And these discos are the ones paying every fat salaries to their staff. And that's the weakest link in the power, the value chain in the power sector. And we have a regulator. I can go on and on. All is not well. Maybe with the coming on board of states, things may change.
Or give them a run for their money.
Because that things will definitely change. Can't continue like this.
So because time is not on our side right now. If you were to help us look and you wanted to do that sort of prophecy you did 15, 18 years ago. But now if you were to look 5 years down the line, you've mentioned the issue of decentralization.
Which we're
having now. What do you see happening to this discourse as more states have the empower themselves?
What we advocated.
And we're also having a lot of initiatives from the federal government about solar this, solar that, and all that. So if you look at all this mix, what are you seeing? Because
government is still in charge of Rural Electrification Agency and the rest. So the future, I told you, what we advocated was for the discourse for transition purposes, so as not to distort the market. We advocated that the discos should be cross-licensed in their respective states.
Okay.
For instance, Ibadan Disco is in charge of Ogun, Oyo, and Osun, and parts of Osun, if not all the whole of Osun. So they will register a subsidiary for Ogun, and that one for Osun.
Okay.
And so that one on its own can start to do business. Meaning the subsidiary of Ibadan Disco in charge of Ogun may be making more money if he's able to supply, generate and distribute to areas and is collecting the rates. While the one in Osun may be struggling, as against having the whole of Ibadan or Disco crash down and it's affecting those states. So we are now batching the states so that some states may swim, some may sink on their own. Okay. Then gradually the discourse will fizzle out. I am actually advocating that federal government should start even to cut down budgeting for the power sector.
Okay.
Because the law is clear now, and that's the only way the state can really put their house together to do the right thing. Under the law, be it on-grid generation, transmission, distribution, or services, both federal government and state government are responsible.
Okay.
Whichever way, what federal government is able to do in the power sector, the state can also now do. And federal government exists through the state. So if state A is able to put its house in order, state B is able to do the same thing, at the end of the day, Nigeria is going to do better. Federal government should actually start reducing its power sector funding so that states can be on their toes and do the needful. Or the government should also assist the state logistically to get some of these things done. But federal government should just reduce its weight in the power sector so that the state entities and players can be sustainable and make money.
I would like to thank you. This conversation is one that when one starts, you just
it doesn't
it doesn't look like it's ending.
It's what every home was going
but I would like to thank you for being our guest today and for sharing your insight on a lot of issues. We'll continue to pray we'll see more light.
Hopefully. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much. Clear positions there by our guests, and indeed we need more to be done in that sector, and quickly too. I want to hear from you regarding your take on this discussion, especially as it affects you and power supply in your area. Do you have questions, begging for answers? Please send in your views and let's discuss. Please send them to our social media handles and the email address on the screen. We also have past episodes on our YouTube channel. You can search for News Night on that playlist and just take your pick. Thanks for being there and spending your time with us. Have a lovely day. Bye.